The countdown is on for one of the most talked about nights on the boxing calendar. In just a matter of days, Canelo Alvarez and Terence "Bud" Crawford will touch gloves on September 13th under the lights of Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas with the undisputed super middleweight crown on the line. It's the kind of event that pulls the sport into the center of the conversation, the kind that draws out old arguments and new hopes in equal measure. For many, the story begins with the Mexican superstar, the man whose name has anchored multiple Fight of the Year and Fight of the Century headlines. For others, it centers on Crawford, the calm disruptor pursuing a piece of history no fighter has ever owned, becoming the first undisputed three-division world champion. That narrative alone is enough to give this night a weight it scarcely needs, given the stage and the names involved. Just the poster, the two faces, the date, the word undisputed, has people talking, pointing, and picking sides. Fans break down styles in barbershops and on trains. Analysts and former champions openly debate how size, age, and instinct will thread together. Comment sections across platforms fill with comparisons to past greats, and the predictions come fast and loud. One voice that has cut through the noise belongs to Cuban trainer Pedro Roque, a man whose resume spans Olympic glory and years of shaping professionals in South Florida. Roque didn't hedge. He sided with Canelo and did it in plain language. To win. Combat Sports Reporter. He is only. That's not a casual endorsement. It's a statement of faith in a champion's trajectory, strengthening with time rather than fading with it. Roque has watched camps up close and seen what goes into those seemingly effortless nights on television. I see him getting stronger, with more muscle, more power and more precision, he added, describing Canelo as a fighter who continues to refine the fundamentals while adding layers that make him even more difficult to read. Coming from a coach with deep roots in Cuba's celebrated amateur system and a thriving professional base in Miami, the perspective carries heft. His gym has been a regular stopover for talents like Erislandy Lara, Luis "King Kong" Ortiz, Uniel Dorticos, Lenier Pero, Guillermo Rigondeaux and Yuriorkis Gamboa. That last name, Gamboa, ties directly into Crawford's story. A decade ago, Gamboa tried to crack the puzzle of Bud's measured aggression and brilliant timing and came up short. Roque knows both sides of this equation, the power of Canelo's evolution at 168, and the intelligence that has defined Crawford's reigns at 140 and 147. That's what makes his next point intriguing. He believes this version of Canelo is training with sparring partners who, in his view, can challenge Crawford's style and even exceed it in certain dimensions. Canelo is training with boxers superior to Crawford. I've seen him with Yonli Feliciano, who may be even better than Crawford. Confidence inside Canelo's camp. Hardcore fans know that the quality of sparring shapes how champions handle unfamiliar rhythms. If those looks are sharper than the real thing, the fight may feel familiar when it matters most. Roque's contention is that Canelo's preparation isn't just serious. It's calibrated specifically to neutralize someone like Bud, precise, switch-hitting, patient, and merciless when openings appear. Roque also points to something beyond tape and training plans. The person behind the gloves. He is a boxer who on social networks is always seen in a family environment, concerned about his business and in contact with the fans. He has a healthy and very disciplined life. That will allow him to continue winning until the day he wants, he said. You can roll your eyes at social media montages, but in a sport that can chew up talent as quickly as it celebrates it, routine matters. How champions eat, sleep, recharge, and insulate themselves from distraction plays out in the later rounds of fights like this. Roque believes Canelo's lifestyle, built around boundaries and consistency, keeps his prime alive longer than most. At super middleweight, where he has faced and solved a range of styles, that discipline has been a bedrock. Still, no one with a serious voice in boxing is writing off Terence Crawford. You don't doubt a man who has gone undisputed at 140 and 147, who has walked down elite welterweights and taken them apart without rushing, without panic, and his footwork remains crisp. His counters are invisible until they land. His composure, which has always felt like a signature, seems untouched by the scale of the moment. He has been direct about his goals. My goal is to make history. I assure you that I will be the first undisputed 3-time world champion, he said. It's not brash. It's a promise to himself, and one he thinks he can deliver inside Allegiant Stadium. That stadium, a modern colossus on the Las Vegas Strip, is a character in this story. The venue shapes nights like these. The roof holds in the sound in a way that makes clean shots echo and momentum feel like weather moving through a building. Thousands will come wearing green, white, and red, and thousands more will arrive for history's scent. Canelo has walked into these cauldrons before and turned noise into fuel. Crawford has handled plenty of pressure in arenas across the country, but walking into a super middleweight main event in Las Vegas with the undisputed title on the line is a different scale of expectation. Some fighters take a deep breath and settle. Others feel a rush of impatience. For Crawford, the key will be to make the night small. Just another ring, just another man across from him, just another set of patterns to read and punish. From a tactical perspective, the questions practically ask themselves. Can Crawford's speed and timing disrupt Canelo's rhythm at 168 the way it has in lower divisions? Will he emphasize movement and angles, turning the fight into a chess match that frustrates Canelo's patient pressure? Does he choose to box at long range and burst in spots, or does he try to walk Canelo into shots by tempting him forward with feints and counters, then pivoting off the line? On the flip side, can Canelo's body work sap Crawford's legs over the second half of the fight? Can he establish early that the pocket is his, that Crawford's visits there will come at a price? Will he use the high guard to invite selective shots he can catch and counter? Does the natural size advantage at super middleweight turn half exchanges into full momentum swings? These questions are the oxygen that keeps fans leaning forward until the bell rings. Roque's belief that Canelo is getting stronger, with more muscle, more power and more precision, frames another reality. This fight arrives at a moment when Canelo looks settled at 168, while Crawford is leaping toward it. Moving up has not compromised Bud in the past. His fundamentals tend to travel. But there is a world of difference between jumping to face a fighter who's adjusting with you and challenging a man whose supremacy at the weight has been carved across multiple title fights. Canelo won this division's crown with a combination of patience and violence, strategic pressure, methodical bodywork, the ability to read and punish at mid-range. Crawford's gift is making other fighters think they're safely outside the fire until the one shot that counts slots in between their hands. If he's going to become an undisputed 3-weight champion, he'll likely have to manage a smaller margin for error than usual. Canelo's counters at this weight don't just score, they move fighters physically and mentally. This means the outcome is fights this big toward surprises because pressure. Even seasoned fighters do unusual things. A fast start for Crawford could force Canelo to pursue more than he prefers and create lanes for the cleaner technician to steal early rounds. A few early digs to the body from Canelo could make Crawford pick his exchanges even more carefully, letting the Mexican star build a lead in moments rather than minutes. Judges tilt toward visible power, arenas tilt toward stars, and close rounds tilt toward the fighter who looks like he's dictating terms. Crawford knows this. Canelo knows this. Their teams will talk about it all through the final week. That's why training camp chatter matters. A name like Yonli Feliciano might not be familiar to casual fans, but to hear Pedro Roque tell it, sparring with someone like that lifts the baseline. If your practice rounds are harder and smarter than the actual fight, the real thing starts to feel like a version you've already solved. Roque's insistence that Canelo's partners are superior to Crawford will drive debate, but the larger point holds. The shape of camp determines how much shock you feel on fight night. If Canelo is reading a switch hitter with speed and guile every afternoon, he will see the same puzzle in the ring and recognize patterns more quickly. If Crawford's camp has built up the right sparring physics, length, leverage, and punch resistance at 168, then he will feel stronger and more confident when punches thud differently than they did at 147. Boxing's cliches about preparation remain true because fights expose the shortcuts and reward the discipline. Roque's own here adds weight to his opinion. He isn't throwing stones from the cheap seats. For more than 2 decades, he has been one of South Florida's most respected coaches. He has left an imprint on amateurs and professionals alike. In 2008, he was selected as the best trainer in the world when the Cuban national team he guided left Beijing with 8 medals. That Olympic shine isn't a trophy to him, it's a standard. His move into Miami's pro scene broadened the circle, connecting him with champions and contenders who had carried the Cuban technical scar across oceans. When he speaks about discipline, about family structure, about a fighter's daily habits, he does so from decades of seeing how those habits end up embossed in a fighter's gas tank and in his choices at the end of round 9. And then there's the aura, that thing you can't measure but you can feel. Canelo Alvarez brings it into arenas the way some performers bring it onto concert stages. People react to aura differently. Some shrink. Some soak it up. Crawford doesn't appear to shrink. He rarely wavers, whether he's ahead or behind. In fact, one of his sneakiest weapons is his ability to grow inside a fight, to go from information gathering to punishment in what feels like a single round. He doesn't chase knockouts. He lets the other man's mistakes make them possible. For him, becoming the first undisputed 3-division world champion would be a culmination of the method he has perfected. For Canelo, another successful defense at 168 serves a double purpose. It keeps him on his throne and adds another star to a resume already shaped by champions he has across 4 weight classes. Also worth noting the calendar. A mid-September fight in Las Vegas often echoes with Mexican Independence Day energy, and Canelo has turned those weekends into something of a personal stage in years past. The pageantry builds a dramatic frame. Strewn through it is a dangerous reality for opponents. Noise can distort judgment. Shots that land clean under those lights and roars tend to look cleaner to judges. When Roque says he is only going to lose when he retires, he's not declaring that Canelo is unbeatable in a mystical sense. He's saying the man has built an environment, physically, tactically, emotionally, that makes it hard to beat him on nights like these unless you don't give him an inch. For Crawford, that means making the ring big. It means forcing resets rather than trading for the crowd. It means banking early rounds with visible clean shots, not just clever touches. It means refusing slow corners where body shots can accumulate and breath can shorten. It means smuggling his own rhythm into a venue wired for someone else's heartbeat. He has done versions of this before, against fighters with different strengths and at lower weights. If he does it at 168, it becomes an achievement with its own gravity, one that pulls his name into all-time lists in a new way. Predictions will keep rolling until the weigh-in, and they will be colored by what analysts value most. If you trust experience at the weight and proven power against elite opponents at 168, Canelo is the safer pick. If you trust ring IQ, adaptability, and a fighter who has never looked flustered on a big night, Crawford is hard to bet against. Those positions can coexist. That's why the fight sells. Pedro Roque's clarity cuts one way. Plenty of other voices point in the direction, citing Crawford's ability to switch stances seamlessly to change angles and force counters to miss by an inch. The truth is that both men are good enough, disciplined enough, and proud enough to bring out the very best of each other. Those are the fights that make the sport feel young again.